Now we are on to question 2 of the 2023 free response questions. This is for set 1. Okay. So question 2, the graph shows the production possibilities curve for Northland and Southland. So we have this graph right here. Which country has a comparative advantage in producing wheat? So as we know, when we're doing the comparative advantage, we need to find the opportunity cost. So let's do that. Now, I don't like the graph. It's a little confusing. So what I always do is I always put my countries on the left. So we'll do Northland and we'll do Southland. And then we'll do wheat and we'll do cloth. Okay. Now Northland, they do 100 wheat and 300 cloth. It's very important that you follow the Northland line, and as you can see, it is 100 wheat and 300 cloth. Southland is 100 wheat and 50 cloth. Okay. So to find comparative advantage, all you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing, Northland, Southland, but now you're trying to figure out the cost of one wheat, and one cloth. So what you're going to do there is you're going to do a 100 divided by 100, 300 divided by 100. So that is 3 cloth for Northland. For Southland, you're going to do 100 divided by 100, which is 1 wheat, and that is also equal to 0.5 cloth. 50 divided by 100. Let's do cloth now. So to find one cloth, what you're going to do is 300 divided by 300. That's one cloth. Oh, I'm sorry. That's going to be 300. Okay. Now, we're going to do 100 divided by 300 on the other side. So that would be 0.33 wheat. And then what you're going to do is 50 divided by 50, which would, and then that which would be 1 cloth, and then you'll do 100 divided by 50, so that would be 2 wheat. Now, looking at this, who has the comparative advantage in wheat? Well, who has the lower cost in producing wheat? That would be Southland. So for A, what you would say is Southland has comparative advantage in wheat because they can produce wheat at a lower opportunity cost than Northland. Since Southland can produce 1 wheat, or we should say 1 bushel of wheat, 1 bushel of wheat for 0.5 yards of cloth, and Northland produces 1 bushel of wheat for 3 yards of cloth. Okay, that's a long explanation, but that would be something that I would write down. Okay. I know it's a long one, but again, that's what I would write. So for part B, on part B, what's happening here is identify a specific number of yards of cloth that could be traded for 10 bushels of wheat and would be mutually beneficial to Northland and Southland. So basically what we're looking here is at the chart. So as you see here, what's happening is that when you're doing 10 bushels of wheat, right? Who sells wheat? Well, that would be Southland, all right? And so because it's Southland, they're selling it for 0.5 cloth, all right? So what's the minimum that they would sell one wheat for? Well, the minimum they would sell one wheat is 0.5 cloth, okay? So what if it were 10 wheat? Well, if it were 10 wheat, so one wheat is 0.5 cloth. Well, what if it were 10? Well, all we would do is multiply by 10, and then you would get 5 cloth. So the minimum that they would sell 10 bushels of wheat would be for 5 cloth. That's the minimum price. Now, who's buying wheat? That would be Northland. The most they would pay for one wheat is 3 cloth. That's the most that they would pay. So what if it were 10? Well, if it were 10 wheat, that would be 30 cloth. That is the most that they would pay. So the minimum price is that Southland's willing to go is 10 wheat, is 5 cloth, and the most that Northland will pay for 10 wheat is 30 cloth. All we did was we multiplied by 10 because we're going from 1 wheat to 10 wheat. So you just need to multiply by 10. So you'll do 3 times 10, that'll be 30. So all you have to do is pick any number between 10 and 30. And that would be beneficial to both people. So basically, if you picked, let's say, identify a specific number for 10 bushels of wheat, trade 10 bushels of wheat for 29 yards of cloth. It does not matter as long as it's between 5 and 30. Then you will be beneficial. Okay, if the price were 10 bushels of wheat for 29 cloth, Northland, right, the most they're willing to pay is 30. So if they only have to pay 29, they are benefiting. So as long as the number is between 5 and 30, you're good to go. It does not matter. Okay. Now, part C. Southland's maximum possible output of wheat falls from 100 bushels of wheat to 75. Assuming no other changes, will Southland have a comparative advantage in producing cloth? So what they're asking you to do there is that your numbers have now changed. So let's take a look at that. So you were at these numbers here. So 100, 300, 150. But now Southland can only do 75 bushels of wheat. So now you're going to change your numbers. You'll do north, south, wheat, cloth. So nothing changes for Northland. You're still doing 100 and 300. For Southland, you will be doing 75 wheat and 50 cloth. So now, will Southland have a comparative advantage in cloth? Well, let's figure that out. So north, south, 1 wheat, 1 cloth. So for 1 wheat, that doesn't change. That's still 3 cloth and 0.33 wheat. For Southland, it's going to change. You're going to do 75, 50 divided by 75. So 1 wheat is going to be equal to 0.67 cloth. And if we went the other way, you would do 50 divided by 50, 75 divided by 50, and that's going to equal 1.5 wheat. So these are our numbers. And as you can see here, the question's asking you who has the comparative advantage in cloth. So who has the comparative advantage in cloth? Well, that would be Northland. So for the question, does Southland have a comparative advantage? No. So no, Southland does not have a comparative advantage in cloth because they have a higher opportunity cost since 1 yard of cloth for Northland is 0.33 bushels of wheat and 1 yard of cloth for Southland is 1.5 bushels of wheat. That is the explanation that I would give for this question. All right, now part D. Turnips are produced in a perfectly competitive labor market in Algeria, a third country which does not engage in international trade. Runoff from turnip fields pollutes Algeria's rivers, hurting its residences. Does the turnip market equilibrium result in an efficient allocation of resources? Explain using marginal analysis. So here's the deal. You do not have to draw the graph, but on your scratch sheet, right, the other booklet that's not for your answers, I highly suggest you draw the graph so you can see what's going on here. So as you know, when we're dealing with these kind of questions, you're dealing with something that is a negative externality. It is polluting the rivers and it's hurting the residences. That is an extra cost. So you do not have to draw the graph, but what it would look like is marginal private benefits, marginal private cost, and then you would have the marginal social cost here. So the extra cost is the pollution. The market will always do here, the private benefits, private cost, so QM. However, why is this, so this is what the market does. Is this efficient? No, that is not efficient. Here, that is efficient. And the reason it's not efficient is because your marginal social cost is up here, but your marginal social benefit is down here. So in this example, your marginal social cost is greater than your marginal social benefit. So that is why it is not efficient. So all you would say for part D, for DI, you would say no, it does not produce an efficient allocation of resources because the marginal social cost is more than the marginal social benefits. That's what I would say. The marginal social cost is more than the marginal social benefit. For part D double I, in an effort to reduce pollution, the government imposes a lump sum tax. What will be the impact on the market equilibrium, price, and quantity? As we know, if it is a lump sum tax, lump sum meaning it is a one-time payment of tax. Basically, the government saying, hey, you owe me $100. I don't care what quantity you produce, you owe me $100. So, does this change the marginal cost? No, this does not change the marginal cost. So, a lump sum tax will not change the price and quantity in the short run. It will not. So what will be the impact on the turnip market? No impact. There will be no impact. Okay, so that was all of question 2. All right, all we had to do here was find the comparative advantage. Okay, we did the chart, found the opportunity cost. Then we had to figure out what is a beneficial price. As long as it was in between the opportunity cost numbers, we were good. We then had to change the opportunity cost chart because we changed the production numbers. And then finally, we looked at a negative externality. And the reason it doesn't produce efficient allocation of resources is because your marginal social cost is more than your marginal social benefit. Again, you do not have to draw the graph. However, that's what it would look like. And then part D, double I, a lump sum tax will do nothing. There will be no impact. All right, for the next question, I will be going on to question 3. I'll see you there.